Hey everybody, so today you are going to learn how to build a real-time chat application inside Race 6. And yeah, you heard that right, we are going to build this in Race 6. So Race 6 was released recently. I think they released the official version in April. And before you could already download the beta, but since it's now finally out, I felt let's do it inside Race 6 because there are quite a few things that will change your workflow inside Race itself. The probably most important one is that you can no longer use the asset pipeline, but instead we need to use npm or yarn and webpacker to install our dependencies. Now I myself not a fan of JavaScript or especially Node.js and all the boilerplate that comes with it, but yeah, let's see how everything turns out. So this is the app that we are going to build, and so we have here in simple input, and I can type in here hello, how are you? And when I hit enter, you will notice that first off it appears immediately on the inside the browser without refreshing the browser itself. And if I go to the incognito browser, you notice that the message also appeared here on this browser window without refreshing it, of course. Now I could answer here and say, hey, I'm fine, how are you? Hit enter and you notice that it appeared immediately on the other window as well. So everything is live streamed and we will use Action Cable for that, of course, to achieve that. So this tutorial is great to learn something about Action Cable, the core basics from Action Cable, and also how to use Race 6 and how to implement Action Cable with Race 6 and jQuery and things like that. And one thing that I want to mention is that we no longer have CoffeeScript inside Race 6, so we need to use ES6, which is actually an improvement, I would say. So without further ado, let's get started. So the very first thing that you need to do is to go to RubyGems, type in Race, and then the first result, you see that they released Race 6 on April 24. And so I will shut down here the server from the project, close here all my tabs, and when I cd to my root directory, I can type in, and actually you can do this from every directory, you can type in Race V, and this will give you back the current Race version that you are, that your machine has installed on. In my case, that's the newest version, Race 6 RC1. So you can install Race 6 by saying gam install Race V and then the version that you want to install. So make sure to add also the RC1 number and letters, otherwise it won't work. So I can do this as well. On my side, it will of course not install it again because I already have it installed, but just in case you're wondering what this will do, we'll just install Race on your Ruby environment, and by default your newest version will be always used from Race itself. So if you want to create a new project and you don't want to use Race 6 for that, you could either uninstall Race 6, or you can specify the version you want to use by saying underscore 5.2.2 in this case, and then new, and then just the name of the app. Okay, so of course we won't do that because this tutorial is about Race 6. So I will cd to my desktop as always, and then here Race new, and I will call it real-time chat Race. That makes sense. And you will see that it will take a little bit longer. That's because Race will also install Webpacker, just like I said, and it will also install all the dependencies. So as you can see, here's the message, Race Webpacker install. So because of that, this will take a little bit longer than normally. I will pause the video here and start again once it's finished. Alright, so Race is now finally finished, and I can see to retime chat app. What do I call it again? Retime chat Race. There we go. Okay, and so here the very first thing that we need to do is to use yarn or npm, which one you prefer is up to you, and then simply add jQuery. Okay, and so this will then install jQuery, and then we need to do two things. And I will open up now the text editor, and notice now that when we go to assets, app assets, we no longer have here the JavaScript folder, but instead inside the app we have a JavaScript folder on its own, and inside there a channels folder, with 2 files and a packs folder. And inside packs, you see the application.js file. So this was more or less, or is more or less the equivalent to the application.js file that you could find inside assets JavaScript application.js if you have used Rails before version 6. So if we open up the file here, you see we have here this requirement. So basically it's more or less the same like we would you do in the asset pipeline, where we added the requirements when we added, for example, Bootstrap, things like that. So this is basically the place now where you would need to add that. But before we can finally add here jQuery, we need to do a few things. And just like I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of this whole new pipeline because I think it just adds too much like boilerplate to your Rails app. But yeah, let's just head over to I don't know which folder was it. I think inside config environments. Actually, inside config we have now the webpack folder, right? And inside there the environment.js file. So what we need to do here is to create a new const called webpack, and then require it to webpack itself. And then we need to basically run the environment plugins prepend, provide, and then new webpack provide plugin. And here we are basically declaring jQuery either by the $sign or by jQuery. So you could also call this like the variable hello world. And this would point then still to jQuery, okay? So just in case you're wondering what's going on here. And so everything else, the environment plugins, prepend, and new webpack provider plugin is basically, to my knowledge, from Webpack itself, how you add a new plugin. So you can look that up. And the environment plugins prepend is probably from a Webpack inside Rails, but I'm not 100% sure about that yet. I still have to figure that out, what this is actually doing here. But it works, I guess. So what we need to do next is to go now to the app.js file again, and here we can now say require jQuery, just like that. And that's actually all we have to do for now. We can test this out immediately by saying documents and then on turbo links load, and then function, and here we just like add a console log. Yeah, we are ready. Okay, and so because we don't have currently any views inside our app, we need to add a controller. So I will add here quickly a controller, call it landing, and then simply add an index file to it. And once that is finished, we will add the like the route path to the landing index page, so that when we go to localhost 3000, we are getting directly to the index page. Okay, so back to routes RB. For some reason, this was my older, like the folder or the project. So for some reason I had the other project open up. So yeah, inside routes RB, we need to now set the route to landing index like so. And with that, if I start the server, which will take also a little bit longer because it needs to load all the dependencies and things like that, so we'll wait here just a moment. And once that's finished, there we go, let's load the page. So normally we should now get here the console log. Yeah, we are ready. Once we are loading our landing index page, which will then indicate that we set up jQuery correctly and everything is working. And it seems like it's really long. There we go. Yeehaw, we are ready. And it comes from application.js, line 25, so we can look that up. And there we go. It's coming from here. All right, I will go to the console again. So what I will do now is I will close here everything, and we need some kind of data we can deal with, right? So I will create here quickly a new model, call it message, and the message can have a content which is a text, really simple. And because we are creating a model, we need to migrate that. And I will also create a controller for that, where we deal with the data, and where we will also send the data to the channel. And I will talk about the channel in just a moment. So first, raise G controller messages controller, and then I want to like, we don't need to add any further method here because we will do this on our own. And we also need to set up the resources. We could do this now, or I will do this later, so you actually see why we need to do that. And now we are also going to create the channel. But before we do that, let's head over quickly, close here everything. And inside app JavaScript, you notice we also had here this or have this folder called channels. Inside here, consumer.js. So here we are just declaring the action cable. And inside index.js, we are collecting basically all the channels with the tag underscore channel. And this way, Race recognizes the new channels that we have in our app. So here it says load all the channels within the directory, within this directory, and all subdirectories. Channel files must be named underscore JS, which is automatically the case when we create a new channel. And so because we don't have currently a channel, we can create a new one. And when I say raise G channel simply room and hit enter, you will notice that this will create a few files for us. The first one is it will create the app channels room channel RB file, and then inside app JavaScript channels, so currently the directory we were looking at, a file called room underscore channel JS. Just like it said, it will automatically create the underscore channel tag. And you notice that we are importing consumer from here, and then we are saying consumer subscription create room channel, and then we have three functions in it: the connected, disconnect, and receive data. So here I can console log this and say yeah, we are live. And you will notice that when I refresh now the app and make sure the server is running, that this will no longer be working because we have no stream for the channel itself. And for some reason it takes again really long to start server, so hopefully that will fix this, or it's something because of my machine. So here you can see we have now the room channel is transmitting the subscription confirmation, but we are not connected to that. So normally when I start this, I'm not 100% sure if we can see it, but normally we shouldn't see here any log whatsoever. But we actually are seeing that, so. Okay. Something I didn't knew actually. I thought we always need to connect this first. So what I want to do now is, if I go to channels, room channel, what I want to do here is to set the stream to room channel like so. And now everything's working still. Okay. The next thing we need now to do is to deal with our data. Okay, so if I go to the messages controller quickly, I will create here first of the new methods. So new, and then add message equals message new, and then create, and then again message equals to message create, and here I will quickly add the new params, and of course we have to create them, so private, and then msg params, and then params require message, and then permit content. Okay, and here I can then say if we are saving the message, I want to do something. So if message save, if that's the case, send the data over to the channel. We can do this by saying action cable server broadcast, then the name of the channel, which is room channel, and then I can add here the content by saying content equals to add message content. Okay. So With that, we are basically set. What I can do now is I can console log here the data content, and this should give us back the content. However, if I go back to our app, you will notice that maybe everything is working, but we cannot really add new data, right? We don't have here any input whatsoever. So we need to change that. Inside the index HTML ERB, we create quickly a new form for message, and then I want to say remote true, and then do, and then of course we just create a standard form here with the text field for the content, and then we also want to add an F submit button. Okay, so now we should have the input field, but this will throw out an error because we don't have like declared the message. So let's do this quickly as well. Landing controller, and here inside index set message.new, and now we will have an error that will say that the message's path is undefined, as you can see here. So this is why I have waited with the resources. Now you can actually see what's why we need to do that. So inside routes RB, we need to declare here the resources for the messages, and I will limit that to the new and the create, I guess. So with that, we are all set to go. Now it works. And if I add here something and click or click on the create message, we should get here like the data back inside the console. And this is the case. We get ABC from line 16. And if I go back here to room channel, you see on line 16 we are console logging the data content. So everything is working. I could also like just console log the data, and this will make this a little bit more obvious because we will have then the data in a string back. So if I type in here something, see we have now here string content B. Okay, so we have done that. The next thing would be to add the functionality so that we live update our view, right? Because currently we can't see any data. But before we do that, I want to quickly show you that if I go to the race console and I open up here another tab for that and type in message all, you will notice that we have already created new data. And that's because inside the messages controller we declared whenever we are creating data, send it also over to each channel. Okay, so we are doing more or less like an asynchronous task there, even though it's not really an asynchronous task, but it's more or less the same kind of pattern. Then now that we have set up this, what we need to do next is to create a holder for the messages. So I will create here just a div with the ID message, like so, and this will then hold the data. So here where we receive the data, I can get the message like so, and then append, and here I can create quickly a new div class called message like so. Make sure to add these double quotes, otherwise it won't work. And then here we can add a plus, and yeah, a plus, and here the data content, and then again a plus, and to add here or close the div like so. So normally this should already work. So if I refresh the app now and type here in something, this should add the data to our viewport here, or to our like landing page. So I type here in something and you notice that it doesn't work. So let's see if I have here somewhere a typo. Message, append, div class, message, data content. Yeah, as always, I have always these kind of typos when it comes to like adding here some HTML to jQuery. So I forgot here to close the div class, the first one. So now it should finally work. So sorry for that, didn't see that at all. So ABC, and we see now ABC, and in fact, if I like refresh here the localhost at 3000 in the incognito window and type here in something, this already works. Okay, so we get here the live update on both windows, and that's because everyone who's going to localhost 3000 is immediately subscribed to the channel, as you can also see in our terminal. So here we have the room channel transmitting, and via stream from room channel. Okay, so of course we could set this up to a separate route and then just use partials to render that, for example, in the nav bar for notifications, things like that. So that's definitely something I will also do as a tutorial in the future to show how to do that. But for now, let's focus on this app. Since we are already displaying no data, the next step would be to clear up our input, right? Because right now we can like forever add here data and it will not clear up the input itself. So back to our text editor, I will create here like a new document on turbo links load, like so. Add here the function, sure to spell it correctly, and inside here we would just call submit messages, like so. And here we declare submit messages and make this just a variable, and down here we can then create the submit messages and equate this to a function, like so. And inside here, I basically want to say whenever we are hitting enter, which is the key code 13 in JavaScript, I want to do something. So in order to be able to do that, we need to get the input itself by saying messages content. And then here we can say on key down, we want to run a function that has the event attached to it. And here I simply make an if statement, say if the event, I think key code, yeah, there we go, equals to 13. So to enter, we want to do something. We can now just console log this. Yes, we hit the enter. That makes sense. So normally, if I refresh this now and press enter, we should get the console log back that like we hit enter, right? Just to confirm that this is working. So we type here in something, hit enter, and nothing appears. So obviously this is not working. Let's double check everything on key down function event. If event key code equals to 13, call this. And here we are calling this. So what I will do now is, I think it's because I said messages content and it's singular and not plural. So one more time. So again, you always have to make sure to spell things correctly to the classes you have in your view. Otherwise, it won't work, of course. So again, it takes a little bit longer. And now if I type in something, hit enter, we get now the message. Yes, we hit enter. Okay, so this confirms that this message or this function gets called. So what we can do now is we basically can submit the form from here itself. So I can get the input like so, and then say click and make it a function, very important. Once we have done this, we can then get the event target value and set it to 0 and or to an empty string, and then we can also add prevent the default. So this will basically prevent users from just being able to hit enter when the input itself is empty. Okay, so we could also limit this in our controller, but we can also use for that JavaScript. In production, you probably want to do this on both sides just to make sure that your app is really secure and working nicely. And so if I refresh this now, we should first off be able to post the data just like we were doing before, but we should be also able to like no longer see the old input, and we should also not be able to hit enter when there is no input inside of that. So I hit enter, and first off, you notice that the message appeared here and it cleared up our input. And if I try to hit enter here, you see it doesn't work. This is working, and I can add here data, and of course this will be then always displayed on the other side as well. Okay, so that would be basically it for today's tutorial. I hope you learned at least the very basics about Action Cable. I will do much more about the Action Cable in the future. I'm pretty sure about that, especially when it comes to notification. And yeah, I hope you learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed. If so, make sure to like the video, and also make sure to check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. I have much more content, and if you like my content, make sure to subscribe, okay? Alright, so that's that. Thanks for watching and see you next time.